Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing a few things to know about the passing of Pope Francis that have nothing to do with Pope Francis himself. First, I do want to take a moment to give reverence and respect to Pope Francis and his life. These are, very, very, very wild times, and I'm sending love and compassion to the Catholic community after such a joyful weekend with Easter and whatnot. To kind of have this be on the heels of that, I'm sure is a little bit of a roller coaster. So I am sending love and some warmth to those who are in the Catholic community at this time. I do believe his service is in 2 days on Wednesday of this week. So there is going to be a lot more energy and awareness around all of this, even more so than now. So please use your discernment. In anything that I say, use your own discernment. I'm going to popcorn over some things that I have intuitively received. And this is just perspective. This is actually, again, this is perspective, intuitive perspective and insight that has nothing to do with Pope Francis himself, and more so to do with the energetic portal and ley lines that reside within the Vatican and the Vatican plot of land that is Vatican City. So the Vatican is placed on a particular part of land that represents and has represented, and a lot of effort and attention and energy has been placed to uphold this grid, this area of our planet, as an energetic portal of power. In its most basic articulation, that is what I would say. It's not just one portal way. This is a vast portal hub that resides within the Vatican in Vatican City. And this is a funneling of not just organized religion, but the spreading of Catholicism on this planet. I believe I mentioned 2 weeks ago on the YouTube Energetic Weekly Update that I was just sensing a lot more interesting things happening relating to Catholicism spreading on this planet. I think it's growing rapidly in China, which I find very fascinating. But I have been very attuned to what has energetically been funneling in and out of this particular grid, of these particular ley lines, ever since I first went to Rome and the Vatican City in September of 2024, where I had some very, very, very wild experiences, some of which I have shared in my monthly membership community, Gaia's Gateway, some of which I have kept to myself because it is very intense and a lot of this information is very sacred, and I need to use my highest discernment in where I share it. So that being said, there are also, I could mention the energetic portal ways that are also in the city of Rome, and the energy there and happenings there and agendas there relating to energy, but I'm going to focus on the Vatican and Vatican City. There are very important ley lines that run through the Basilica and also the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. I'm going to kind of leave that there, but it's just to emphasize the funneling of energy and the funneling of power and awareness and potency as it relates to the Roman Catholic Church and Catholicism. This is an energetic grid that is holding a actual country. It is the smallest country in the world. And I don't know if this is a fact still, but a while ago, the Vatican was the leading entity that owned the most real estate in the entire world than any other business entity, person, etc. So I just am floating that over because this is more than just the Catholic Church. This is a business. This is a country. They have their own passport. They have the guard of the Vatican is the Swiss guard, which is fascinating if you think about following a money trail and allegiances and alliances and agendas. So just ruminating this over for you to marinate if you so choose, or just totally exit out and leave this conversation. That is totally fine. This is about you coming to your own discernment around what resonates for you. There's going to be the conclave process to elect the new pope. That is done in secret inside of the Sistine Chapel. I have many thoughts on this as well that I will not be sharing here, but this will be a very interesting time. This week, next week, as all of this is in the spotlight, that also is where a lot of the attention and energy of the world is focusing. So how do we think that they are using that focused attention and awareness onto the Vatican, onto who the next pope will be, onto revering the life of Pope Francis, etc. All of this is feeding certain Catholic agendas. And we can't, I think, as a collective, not look at the timing of this. His passing being the day after Easter Sunday, really building on that focused awareness and attention that already was on Christianity and Catholicism this past weekend with Easter. But what I find even more interesting is that this year, and I've been talking about this since I went to the Vatican last September, this year is a Jubilee year for the Catholic Church. Every 25 years, there is a Jubilee celebration. Guess when the Jubilee is happening? It's this year. It's this December. December 2025 is when the Jubilee will be happening. So it is not at all a surprise to me to see a buildup on the heels of Easter, of more attention, awareness, and energy, desiring to be focused in on what is happening with the Catholic Church, who the next pope will be. There's going to be even more heightened attention on this next pope between now and the massive Jubilee event. That is much more than just an event than what we think it is. That is happening this December. So some might perceive this as a power play move. Some might perceive this as just interesting happenstance. Please use your own discernment and what feels true for you. I think it's just interesting. I've really been feeling big shifts with Catholicism and the desire to strengthen Catholicism on this planet for a little bit now, but especially when I found out that Pope Francis was entering the hospital with his first round of pneumonia back in mid-February. Even just last week in the YouTube energy update that I did for last week, I said, take note of what happens with organized religion this weekend, how it plays out on the world stage. By no means did I predict the Pope's passing, but there have been seedlings that I have been intuitively receiving and have dropped a few of those seeds in some of these YouTube videos, but a lot of those seeds and insights and wisdom and agendas and distortions and truth in my membership community, where I know those who are receiving that information are able to receive it with the utmost integrity in which it is shared. So I'm going to leave it at that. Please use this to your own discretion and feel and sense into what is emerging within you and your connection to organized religion as it relates to the planetary grids and ley lines on this planet, and how that can feed certain energetic portals and funneling of energy in a certain direction. This is the stuff that we are going to be seeing more and more and more of. And now that Neptune is in Aries, a lot more is going to be coming out around things. And people are going to have more courage to speak their perceptions and their insights. And it's up to each of us in our own sovereignty to discern our own understanding of life, of this human experience, of what is happening. And as we're heading more and more and more into a quickening of time and an intensity of the human experience on this planet, there are going to be a lot of things popping up that we get to sit with around, okay, how do I feel about this? How do I feel that my body is feeling about this particular thing? Is there anything possibly hidden under the surface that might not be shared that I feel? But really, at the end of the day, this is to remind you that there really are portals and passageways around this planet. And, again, with so many planets in Aries, a big part of my role during this time is to highlight where there is a war on consciousness as it relates to the energetic grids, ley lines, sacred sites, and portal ways of the various grids energetically on our planet. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm sending so much love and warmth your way amongst all of this happening. Big hugs.